Most people hear the phrase, pay off the mortgage early, and immediately put it in the responsible category. It sounds disciplined. It sounds safe. It sounds like the kind of thing a person does when they are finally taking money seriously. But there is a hidden problem. The mortgage is not just a debt. It is also a very large, very slow, very illiquid financial lever. And if you attack it before you understand the number behind it, you can accidentally make yourself poorer on paper, less flexible in real life, and more fragile during the exact year when you thought you were becoming safer. So in this video, we are not going to ask, is debt bad? That question is too vague. We are going to ask a much better question. If you have extra money this month, should that dollar go into your mortgage, or should it stay liquid somewhere else? And the answer comes down to one number, your after-tax mortgage rate, compared with the value of flexibility. That sounds technical, but by the end of this video, you will be able to run the decision in less than 1 minute. This is not financial advice. It is a framework. Your taxes, income, risk tolerance, and local housing market can change the answer. But the framework will keep you from making the mistake of treating every extra mortgage payment like it is automatically a win. Let's start with two homeowners. Both are 38 years old. Both earn the same income. Both bought a similar house. Both have the same mortgage balance, $380,000 left. Their fixed interest rate is 4.75%. Their normal payment is already affordable. At the end of every month, each household has $1,000 extra. Alex uses the $1,000 to pay extra principal. Jordan keeps the $1,000 liquid. Some goes into a high-yield cash reserve, some into a simple diversified investment account, and some sits ready for repairs, layoffs, or opportunities. At first, Alex looks like the obvious winner. Every extra dollar sent to the mortgage lowers the balance. The interest savings feel guaranteed. The loan payoff date moves closer. The debt number on the screen goes down. Jordan's path feels messier. The market can move down. Cash does not feel exciting. The mortgage balance falls more slowly. And every month, it looks like Jordan is choosing not to be debt-free. But 10 years later, the story is not that simple. Alex has a smaller mortgage balance, which is good. But most of the extra wealth is trapped inside the house. To use it, Alex has to sell, refinance, borrow against the home, or stop paying extra and wait. Jordan still has a mortgage, but also has liquid assets. If the roof fails, Jordan does not need a credit card. If a job disappears, Jordan has time. If rates drop, Jordan can choose to refinance. If a business opportunity appears, Jordan can act. The important lesson is not that Jordan always wins. The lesson is that paid down and available are not the same thing. A dollar of home equity is a strong dollar, but it is a slow dollar. A dollar in cash or a broad investment account is a flexible dollar. And in personal finance, flexibility has value. Now let's turn the story into the number. When you pay extra on a mortgage, your return is roughly the interest you no longer have to pay. If your mortgage rate is 4.75%, then sending an extra dollar to principal is similar to earning a 4.75% return before taxes and before any special details. That sounds clean. But for some households, mortgage interest can reduce taxable income. The value of that deduction depends on whether you itemize your tax bracket and the rules in the year you file. If the deduction matters for you, then the real cost of the mortgage may be lower than the headline rate. For example, a 4.75% mortgage might behave more like a 3.8% after-tax cost for one household, while it behaves like the full 4.75% for another household that does not benefit from the deduction. So the first part of the number is, what is the true after-tax cost of this debt? The second part is, what are you giving up by locking the money into home equity? That includes emergency liquidity, investment opportunity, career flexibility, and psychological breathing room. A paid-off house feels peaceful, but an almost paid-off house with no cash can feel trapped. This is where many people get the decision backwards. They compare the mortgage rate to a fantasy stock market return. They say, the market might return 8%, so I should invest. Or they say, the market is risky, so I should pay the mortgage. Both answers skip the real question. The real question is, after all taxes, risks, and flexibility needs, which use of this next dollar improves your life more? Let's walk through 3 rate environments. First, imagine a 2.75% fixed mortgage. This is the easiest case to understand. A 2.75% fixed loan is cheap long-term money. If inflation runs near that number, the real cost of the debt can be extremely low. Paying it off early may still feel emotionally great, but mathematically it is a very low hurdle rate. If you have no emergency fund, high-interest credit card debt, an unmatched retirement contribution, or any need for liquidity, sending extra money to a 2.75% mortgage is usually not the first place to look. The mortgage is not your emergency. The missing cash buffer is your emergency. Second, imagine a 5% mortgage. Now the answer becomes more personal. A 5% guaranteed interest saving is not nothing. It is not a lottery ticket. It is a real improvement. For a household with stable income, no other debt, a solid emergency fund, and retirement savings already on track, extra principal can be a very reasonable choice. But it still has one weakness. The return is locked inside the house. If you pay an extra $12,000 this year, you may save interest and shorten the loan. But if your furnace breaks next month, the bank does not send that $12,000 back because you were responsible. To access it, you need a loan, a sale, or a refinance. And when people most need liquidity, lenders are often least excited to provide it. That is the flexibility penalty. Third, imagine a 7.5% mortgage. Now the math tilts. A 7.5% guaranteed saving is hard to ignore. Even after tax details, even after flexibility, paying extra principal can compete very well against many alternatives. But even here, the order matters. If you have no emergency fund, first build the emergency fund. If you have credit cards at 22%, pay those first. If your employer offers a 401k match, capture the match before you send extra money to the bank. If your house has old plumbing, old wiring, and a roof near the end of its life, keep cash for the repair before pretending the mortgage is the only risk. The mortgage rate matters, but sequence matters too. This is why a simple rule like always pay off your house early can fail. It ignores the fact that money has a job. Some dollars are defense dollars. They protect you from surprise. Some dollars are growth dollars. They compound over time. Some dollars are freedom dollars. They buy career options and negotiation power. And some dollars are debt reduction dollars. They lower fixed obligations. The mistake is forcing every extra dollar to do the same job. Let's make the comparison more concrete. Suppose you send $1,000 per month to extra principal for 10 years. That is $120,000 of extra payments. On a 4.75% loan, those payments can reduce interest and shorten the mortgage timeline. That is valuable. But suppose instead you keep the first $30,000 in a cash reserve and then invest the remaining $90,000 over time in a diversified portfolio. There is no guaranteed market return. Some decades are better than others. But the liquid path has features that the extra principal path does not. You can pause. You can redirect. You can use cash during a bad year without selling the house. You can avoid taking bad debt during an emergency. You can keep investing when opportunities are cheap. You can survive an income gap without touching retirement accounts. That flexibility is hard to see on a spreadsheet because spreadsheets love totals and hate timing. Real life is mostly timing. The year you lose your job matters more than the average year. The month the roof leaks matters more than the theoretical lifetime interest saving. The ability to say no to a bad job, a bad refinance, or a bad sale can be worth far more than a slightly lower mortgage balance. Now, none of this means paying extra is bad. There are times when paying extra principal is the right move. If your mortgage rate is high, your emergency fund is full, you already captured employer matches, your retirement plan is on track, you do not need near-term cash, and the psychological benefit of a lower balance is meaningful, then extra principal can be excellent. It is simple. It is disciplined. It reduces risk, can help you sleep. But notice the word after. After the emergency fund, after expensive debt, after the employer match, after near-term repairs, after you understand the rate you are actually earning. Paying the mortgage early is not step 1. It is often step 5. The most dangerous version is the person who is house rich and cash poor. This person has a beautiful equity number, but a fragile life. They have paid extra for years, but still panic when the car dies. They are ahead on the loan, but behind on retirement. They have lowered the mortgage balance, but increased dependence on one paycheck. That is not freedom. That is just a different kind of tightness. Now let's handle the emotional side, because this is where math videos usually miss the point. Debt can feel heavy. Some people hate owing money, even if the rate is low. That feeling is real. If a mortgage keeps you awake, and paying extra creates peace, peace has value. But peace should not be confused with optimization. You can choose peace and still be honest about the trade-off. One balanced strategy is the split method. Instead of putting all extra money into the mortgage or all extra money into investments, split the surplus by job. For example, the first portion builds cash. The second portion invests. The third portion pays extra principal. This lets you get the emotional win of lowering debt without sacrificing every ounce of flexibility. Another strategy is the trigger method. You do not pay extra until your emergency fund reaches 6 months, your retirement match is captured, and your after-tax mortgage rate is above a number you choose. Once those triggers are met, extra principal begins. This turns the decision from a monthly guilt ritual into a rule. And rules are helpful because they protect you from mood. When markets are scary, people want to stop investing and pay debt. When markets are exciting, people want to ignore debt and chase returns. A good rule stops both extremes. Here is a simple decision tree. Question 1. Do you have any high-interest consumer debt? If yes, attack that before the mortgage. A credit card at 20% is an emergency compared with a fixed mortgage. Question 2. Do you have a real emergency fund? If no, build it first. A lower mortgage balance will not buy groceries during a layoff. Question 3. Are you leaving an employer match on the table? If yes, capture the match first. Free matching dollars are usually too valuable to skip. Question 4. What is your after-tax mortgage rate? If it is very low, extra payments are usually more about emotion than math. That can be fine, but call it what it is. If it is moderate, compare it with your need for liquidity and your realistic long-term investing plan. If it is high, extra principal deserves serious attention, especially after your basic defenses are in place. Question 5. Will you need cash in the next 3 to 5 years? For a move, a baby, a business, a career change, medical risk, repairs, or tuition, liquidity may beat a lower mortgage balance. Question 6. Would a paid-off house change your actual life, or only the number on the statement? If it changes your monthly freedom, retirement plan, or stress level, that matters. If it only gives you a cleaner spreadsheet while starving everything else, be careful. So the rule is not never pay extra. The rule is, do not pay off your mortgage early until the next dollar has no better job. Run the number. Check the sequence. Compare the after-tax rate with the value of flexibility. If the mortgage wins, pay it down confidently. If flexibility wins, do not feel guilty for keeping cash and investing. You are not being irresponsible. You are choosing a different kind of safety. The wealthiest households are not always the ones with the smallest mortgage balance. They are often the ones with the most options. And the goal of personal finance is not to impress a bank statement. The goal is to build a life where your money gives you choices before you need them. That is the real mortgage trap, not the debt itself. The trap is locking every spare dollar into the house before your financial life is strong enough to handle surprise. So before you send the next extra payment, pause for 1 minute. Ask what that dollar's job is. Debt reduction, emergency defense, investment growth, or life flexibility. Then send it where it does the most work.